Oh, I had an idea for a podcast.
Yeah.
Here, the idea. The Weird Ones with Mark and Chad.
That's dumb.
Why is that dumb? The Weird Ones.
Is there sound working? All right. How you been, Mark?
I've been okay. I've been, busy working and living life. How about you?
I've been, busy working. I just came from work. Seventh day of work on a Sunday.
Sucker. If you guys had a union, you'd at least get paid extra for that.
Yeah, it's probably true. But I'm not working on the show. We were working on this this feature film, and it got accepted into Sundance.
Ah, okay.
And so they planned on making it into the Cannes Film Festival, which is in May or June or something like that. And they unexpectedly got into Sundance, which is in January.
Mm-hmm.
So that's we had 6 months.
Accelerate the schedule.
Yeah.
Are you permitted to say what this movie is?
Not yet. Probably by the time this comes out.
Maybe privately you can tell me later.
Maybe, and then I'll kill you.
Without the bug active in the room.
So this time we're watching Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains.
That's the full title. Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains.
Have you ever heard of this movie?
I think I have heard of it, but probably because I saw it on your shelf or something. How long have you owned this?
I think it came out... I think this came out in 2008 on DVD.
It looks like you bought an old rental copy or something.
Yeah. And what I heard about the movie was that it played... They thought it was so bad at the time that they didn't release it theatrically. Paramount made the movie and then they shelved it. But randomly at like 2 a.m., it played on some, TV channel late at night.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And somehow, some way, somebody had recorded it, tapes got passed around, and then it became this cult favorite especially with like girl bands.
Okay.
Because
it's about a girl band.
Yeah, it's about a girl band, and I won't spoil the movie for you, but
Don't spoil it. I read the back of the DVD case, so I have an idea of what I'm getting into.
But like this style of the characters and was mimicked a lot by like Madonna and like people of that era, the 80s.
What was the release year again?
82.
82. And I gotta do some research while we watch this movie. I gotta see when certain things came out. See if they came out after that.
What Blade Runner was 82, wasn't it?
Yeah, same year.
Same year. Directed by Lou Adler, who can frequently be seen sitting courtside along Jack Nicholson.
Oh, at
Knicks Lakers games.
Oh, Lakers.
Knicks.
I'm thinking Spike Lee.
Wow.
Spike Lee, Jack Nicholson. They're like the same person.
Anyway.
But it's a, what would you call it? Not a biopic. It's a story of a girl band, formation of a girl band, some teenagers, they get together, make a punk band, and they actually find some success.
That's your guess?
That's my guess. I mean, I thought I read that on the back. I didn't think I was guessing that part.
Meanwhile, people are listening at home going, what the fuck are they talking about right now? What is this movie? I don't think it's on... Well, I know for a fact it's not on Blu-ray. And it was barely released on DVD. So, good luck finding it.
But, at least the DVD was remastered from the original vault, the film originals. So that's good. It's not going to look like shit.
This for me was one of those cult films that when I saw it, I'm always attracted by the cover, a book's cover. I'm the worst kind of human being, and
the picture is nice. It's a classy black and white photo of
basically it's
Diane Lane.
This movie stars
Diane Lane.
And it says she's 15, and I guess she is 15 according to this.
Mm-hmm.
The movie also stars Laura Dern, which I believe this is her first movie, and she was 15 also, maybe even younger than that. I believe she had to divorce her parents to make this movie. because they were like, no, we don't want you making this movie. And she was like,
You can't tell me what to do, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, you can't tell me what to do. I'm totally not...
I'm independent.
I was 15. Wait, how's that work? I didn't know
then...
15-year-olds could...
Wait,
they have their own rights?
This was in 82.
Yeah.
Well, in 12 years later, she was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
She was 27 in Jurassic Park?
Apparently.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it personal, but she didn't look like she was 27 in Jurassic Park.
Well, I remembered hearing how old she was in this movie and going, that sounds like a lie. Like, or just like a misremembered, like, yeah, I was totally like, I was 13 in the movie. You were how old? I was 12, like.
Exaggerating, yeah. Maybe she was more like 17, 18. Yeah.
The thing I remembered about this was being shocked halfway through the movie to realize that the lead male is Ray Winstone.
Yeah.
Do you know who Ray Winstone is?
Wait.
Departed.
Right.
Rather large.
Beowulf?
Yes.
That's the thing I think of.
Beowulf.
And the other motion capture one, Rango. He was in Rango.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he was one of the bad guys, I think.
But there's Christine Lahti. I know I'm saying that wrong.
Lahti?
Or if you're from LA and you were here 10 years ago and you used to listen to Indie 103.1, Steve Jones, Jonesy's Jukebox. From the Sex Pistols.
Sure.
Did you ever listen to?
I've heard of the Sex Pistols.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Steve Jones is in this movie too, from the Sex Pistols. Basically, there's a band in this, and they stole members from the Sex Pistols and the Clash, and the Tubes, whatever that band is.
You've never heard of the Tubes? Oh, Jesus.
All right, what do you expect from this movie? Do you expect it to be any good?
I have no idea. I feel like if it was any good, it would have gotten released. Somebody would have done something with it before.
Well, clearly it got released
ago.
in 2008.
Yeah.
It didn't reach a release at all from 82 to 2008. It wasn't released except for once on TV.
Right, and then it was on the underground circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to be technically awful. Like, I don't know, first-timers kind of level filmmaking. That's what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm. But Diane Lane and Laura Dern, even though they're good now, I don't know. Were they good then? I'm hoping they were. I think I saw another movie with Diane Lane at a young age, and I think it was a musical. And she was okay in that.
You sure it wasn't this?
No, it wasn't that, because it had Willem Dafoe and other people. It was a full-on musical. It wasn't a band thing. I'm hoping that I can overlook the flaws it's definitely going to have. I can just tell it's going to have some flaws by looking at it. Looking at the logo.
What cult movie ever didn't have flaws?
Even my favorite movie ever, Blade Runner, has some serious flaws. It's still my favorite movie.
Yeah.
So I think I can overlook certain things.
If the sequel to Blade Runner has flaws, are you gonna forgive it?
I don't know. It's a different era, It's 21st century now.
Cynical era. It better be perfect.
It better be perfect. God damn it.
Better be fucking perfect.
But what I'm hoping this movie is real punk. I hope it has some kind of like tangible attitude to it.
Will you be pissed if it doesn't?
Well, yeah, because then it would just be lame. And I'll have wasted my time.
On that note, why don't we just watch the damn movie?
Let's watch it.
And we'll be right back in a minute with an actual opinion on this movie.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we've got an opinion on it already.
I mean, I like it. All right.
You're fired.
I need the money.
Corinne Burns, what are you going to do?
My name is not Corinne Burns.
Oh, what is it?
It's third-degree burns. I'm the lead singer and manager for the Stains.
It has become clear to several thousand very young women inspired by an unrecorded rock and roll band with see-through blouses and white stripes in their hair that life is to be lived right now.
You are gonna be really good. Can't explain it.
really amounts to is girl dropouts who are using the media.
She said things that I've always wanted to say, and I haven't been able to.
We're the stains, and we don't put out.
We weren't like that, were we, Brenda? No, we weren't.
You are moving so fast. You're happening so fast. You can't afford to be loyal to this guy.
Why are you still hanging around here? Why don't you just go back to wherever it was you came from?
You've got a lot to learn, you little...
Paramount Pictures presents a Lou Adler movie. Ladies and gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, starring Diane Lane.
All right.
We're rolling.
Well, all right. So, you want to talk about the story, or should I talk about the story?
Well, we'll just
Is
take
there
it
a
from the
story?
beginning. There's definitely a story. I just don't know what it means. So we begin with Corinne, who's just been fired from her job on the news.
Yeah.
Which felt like a deleted scene.
Corinne is played by Diane Lane, and
15-year-old Diane Lane.
it's kind of set up. It's the whole movie's kind of staged by all these interviews, and like the first interview is very like 60 minutes kind of, I guess.
Yeah. Throughout the movie, it's like a very media-centric kind of a thing. We start in the middle of this like news segment about this girl who was fired on TV, and she has a band now, but we don't really see the band.
Wait, but who was she fired by? They show a little clip.
She was fired from her fast food job by Brent Spiner.
In 1982, Brent Spiner gets an uncredited role in this film.
Yeah. If you go on IMDb, he is literally the last name in the cast, and he's uncredited on
Was
the...
it his first credit?
That I didn't look up.
Oh, jeez.
Did not see. If only they knew, you know?
It was kind of an interesting... Like, I like how they framed it like that. It was weird, though, because it felt like a low-budget film. By today's standards, this would be relatively low-budget, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a studio picture, but... And you were telling me that Lou Adler, the director, was offered 2 movies to direct. Either this one or...
Airplane.
Yeah.
The
This
Zucker
or
Brothers
Airplane. So, if he had chosen Airplane... The Airplane that we know wouldn't have existed.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that he wanted to make this movie, and the studio said, no, this is dumb. How about you make Airplane instead? And he passed on it. So they said, fine, we'll let you make, ladies and gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains.
Well, and Lou Adler, I guess he came from music, so...
Yeah, he's a music writer and producer.
So for him
to work there. But anyway, what's her name? Not Laura Dern. The other one, the main...
Diane Lane.
Diane Lane.
This movie is full of performances from actors that are still working today, which is kind of interesting. Like, cause this is a movie that was gone for
26 years.
Yeah, nearly 30 years, but it still has all these actors that are recognizable and still working, and it's kind of funny. Like, this must be their like embarrassing movie. This must be the movie that they probably hated all that time. Actually, I think I heard that Diane Lane said she hated this movie for a long, long time, and now she loves it. Like, she's so glad she did it.
I'm sure it was
because
a big learning experience and a hell of a thing to go through as a teenager.
And I think her and Laura Dern have been friends ever since, this movie.
Yeah.
Ray Winstone looks totally different than he does now.
He looks like what's his name from Twilight in this movie. Edward. The guy. I can't remember his...
The English Edward?
Yeah. Bella's love interest in Twilight. The vampire.
So the thing I don't get about this movie is it's I'm not entirely sure what it's trying to say, because it seems like a women's empowerment movie. It's about these girls who who do what they want, and like the message they're trying to say is we don't put out. Like they play one song.
Don't put out. Don't do what the men tell you to do. That's their whole message, basically. Your life is worth more than just being with a man and doing that whole life. For
anybody listening who hasn't seen the movie, basically, Diane Lane and her friends, they go to a punk show. Well, I guess it's not a punk show. It's a band that's basically a ripoff of Kiss. Is headlining this show, and this punk band opens for them, and the punk band comes out and like rocks everyone's socks off. Everyone loves it. Diane Lane seems like her eyes are like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah. And then the Iron Maiden / Kiss reference band comes out
and sucks.
And they totally suck. They have one groupie who's like old, just like them, and they're like kind of drug addled. You can tell they're on coke or pot or whatever it is, and they're barely holding the show together. It feels like a jam session more than like they're playing their classic hits from the 70s.
But it's great that it's Kiss, and this is 1982, and they're already considered old and archaic in 1982 because, you know, it's not like they're still doing tours.
Yeah, fuck you, Gene Simmons.
But they go on stage, they go to this concert, they see this, they have this eye-opening experience to see, like, this punk band, and she's like, I want to do this too. So she goes, she finds...
But they already have a band prior to this show. They've been, like, doing their thing on their own. They talk about it before they go to the show.
But we never see it. So
we have no
concept.
know what they're...
As far as we know, like, she just shows up and is talking and says, hey, can we... hey, let us come and sit in on your concerts, and
I like that conversation.
Will you let us come along on the tour?
Diane Lane is talking to Ray Winstone, like, hey, how did you get your start? And like doing that whole awkward conversation thing. He just gets up and fucking leaves, and then their Jamaican bus driver comes in and he goes like, hey, you're in, let's go. And basically they just have to show up, and they are on the road with a punk band.
Yeah, and you have no idea how good they're going to be, good or bad, until they go on stage and basically they perform this song called "Waste of Time." And it's pretty terrible.
It's monotone. They can't play the instruments. Like, they can barely hold them, it looks like. They're just, like, loosely strumming the strings of these guitars. Yeah. They don't even have a percussionist at all.
I just love that they actually made them. They made Diane Lane and Laura Dern and the other girl.
The other girl.
Like, go
the one
out
we don't care about.
They made them go out and play these songs for real. And it shows.
Yeah. Like,
it's pretty bad.
There's a lot of movies where people have to go out and give, like, oh, man, that's an awkward performance. I'm thinking of, like, Napoleon Dynamite doing his dance at the end of the movie. Anyway, it's one of those common things. This time, it's actually really awkward. It's not staged to be awkward. They suck. They're horrible performers. They don't know what they're doing, but it is their first time out, and I believe it.
Well, the crowd starts yelling at them, and the only thing that stands out is Corinne, Laura Dern, Diane Lane's, how she's presenting herself. Like, she's got this skunk-like hairdo. She's got this crazy makeup on.
Which looks like Elvira makeup.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool. I think it's really good on the makeup people like to have kind of come up with this design, because they found, I mean, the whole movie hinges on these girls, like, looking at this girl as if she's an idol, and even though they play this terrible song, they basically more or less get booed off the stage, to the point that Diane Lane, like, she's on stage and she just goes on this tirade.
Yeah.
Like, she just starts yelling at these girls for being like
there's no more instruments on stage. She's just yelling at the crowd.
Yeah. Well, in particular, she's yelling at the girls for, like, going with these douchebag guys who are just sitting there and
some horrible band and hope that they look at them and all that stuff.
Her message is like, don't put out, like, don't sleep with these guys, you know. Stand up for yourselves. And so it kind of comes off, it's very like this women's empowerment thing, but the movie is kind of sending this mixed message, like there is this really great, like, women's empowerment, like, movement happening in the movie, but it's all based around this band that is a total facade and can't play for shit and is, like, awful. So it's kind of like,
she's a bad person. throughout this movie.
She's
like
not
from,
a very good person.
From the time we see her, like she has this opinion of like how things should be, and yeah, don't put out all that stuff. That's her message, and that's what the band is all about. But she's just such an angsty fucking teenager. Like I hate her. I don't like her at all.
Do you get the feeling that the movie is like, I mean, it's clearly like trying to say something about bands that were coming out at the time that just had no.
Yeah, like
no talent. Like they're
Ray
all
Winstone as the lead singer of the punk band. He says like he believes everything he writes.
Yeah,
he really puts thought into his songs. And what does she do? She steals their number one song and starts performing it with the Stains, the Fabulous Stains, and major betrayal. Punk band is super pissed off about that and like reveals her to have no substance. The only way she can find actual success is by using someone else's song. So it's I'm of two minds. You're right. It's she has a valid point in her rantings and ravings, but she just goes about it all wrong.
So she's more like a stand-up. I guess you couldn't call her a comedian, but she's more like a stand-up.
With a little seasoning, she could be a comic.
But then, the movie suggests at the end that they're still successful after the fact. But it is kind of interesting to watch this movie because I guess really before this time period, I don't recall a time period where bands were promoted that weren't necessarily good or couldn't play other instruments or whatever. I guess it was really the 80s where that started, and especially now, like, and during the 90s, you had record labels that would just push the image of a band, regardless of whether or not they're good. And, it's like now, like, you get one band, they do really well, so the record company's constantly looking for other bands that sound just like that band.
Yeah, well, I think if you go back to the 60s even with like the Beach Boys and all
I
that,
guess that's
all
true.
those types of groups, whether they're bands or like Backstreet Boys where they don't play anything.
Right.
Like there's always these battles going on with just the image.
But I wonder when that really started, in particular, like specifically just the image of a band. I guess like the Monkees were kind of.
Yeah, they were playing off of the Beatles.
Yeah, they wanted to just build a band that looked like a certain type of thing. But, even the Monkees were good.
Yeah, turns out.
Turns out the Monkees are good.
Fabulous Stains?
The Fabulous Stains
suck.
Not so much, yeah.
In every possible way. They do get better as the movie progresses. Like you can tell that they've been putting a little more practice.
Or at least they've found a better producer.
Right. But yeah, it really does focus more on the crowds of teenage girls who come out to the concerts and the shopping malls that they're playing at. And these people who just latch onto the idea, who don't even really need the music, they just want to belong to a group. And maybe that's a whole nother
thing.
Ball of wax,
Yeah. So did you end up liking this movie?
I did like it, but just barely.
Why did you like it?
It would take a special person for me to recommend it to.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't recommend my parents watch it. They're not going to get anything out of this movie.
It is kind of a slog. There's some really great scenes and some great dialogue in it, and it's
when you can understand it.
It is self-aware to some extent because it's obviously referencing reality at the time, and and between like Kiss being a ripoff in the movie,
right? And I think because I'm not totally up to snuff on my music history, so tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Fuck. Like the early '80s was the end of the punk era. Like it had started in the late '70s, and it was already on its way out to make room for new wave, more poppy kind of music. So the good band. What were they called? The Looters.
The Looters.
The Looters. They were kind of what was hot in that moment, but this movie was like prescient enough to know that they were going out.
They were going out too.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that band is comprised of members from the Sex Pistols and the Clash, which really were at the precipice of the whole punk movement,
Yeah,
themselves. And then in the movie, I mean, they don't look old.
They don't look old.
They don't look
fresh
like they
face, baby face. Ray
They look
Winstone.
like they're maybe 30. Well, Ray
Yeah,
Winstone.
Ray Winstone was
Obviously,
23.
23, geez.
23. So the other guys were probably about 30.
About there ish. Yeah. So, I mean, and there was still plenty of punk bands to kind of come along after that. But as far as like, I'm actually kind of surprised that this movie. I would have loved to go back and see where, like, on what cable TV station did this play at like midnight.
I wonder.
Everybody recorded it.
I wonder if somebody who like worked on the movie just put it on cable access or something.
Yeah, just one day, like, put it out in the world and
Yeah.
how it got its following and like, and inspired a lot of women-led bands to kind of take the style. Obviously, they probably they knew how to play the music probably better than.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if this was the thing that made Joan Jett go out and start making music, for instance.
Probably not.
Or the Bangles, or whatever it might be.
Right.
But I mean, it just had this like look into the future a little bit. It saw 5 years into the future very accurately.
It's very unique. I can't think of any other movie like it from the time.
I mean, in some ways, it's not like a typical Hollywood. Here's the rise and fall of this band that everybody likes,
right?
Because nobody likes them.
Yeah.
I mean, not at first. Like, they're not a good band. They're not actually people whose side you want to be on. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it so difficult to watch.
Nobody. Maybe that's why I like it, because I only seem to write unenjoyable characters. So a bunch of assholes. Well, anyway.
Well, the thing I liked the most was the crazy fan who rushes the stage near the end. We haven't talked about the actual performances a lot, but this woman, I don't know if it was a stunt person or just an extra who kind of signed up to be the one who rushes the stage. She's committed to her role.
She not only like ran at Diane Lane when at the end, like the last scene, but she like somebody runs up and grabs her before she
spins her around. And she's kicking and spitting and yelling.
She's going so fast, her legs just like kick up. I'm like, jeez.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was a person by the name of Heather Elton.
Yeah, Heather Elton.
Wow.
Fuck yeah.
You had like the performance
punk rock,
of the
baby.
movie.
Woo!
You were truly punk.
Yeah.
Heather.
Don't put out.
How about you're a cinematographer? Tell me about the look of this movie, because it's filthy. It looks just fucking dirty no matter where they go.
And it looks like it was shot on film. It looks like it was not a great transfer, or not a great telecine. Like they just did like it looks like a 1 light or 2 light telecine, and they just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't see any color correction. I didn't even see any like beauty lighting on set. It seemed like they were just using existing lighting.
There's some pretty good iconic shots though. Like it's pretty clear that this movie must have taken them a long time to make or release, because there's a music video that appears at the end of the movie that you're saying was it was shot 2 years after.
Yeah. Well, they finished the movie. It had I don't know the whole history of this thing now, but they shot the movie the way it was written. It didn't have this music video ending on there. And that's actually the reason the writer took her name off and put like Rob Bolton or whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah, the one of the main writers of this movie, she changed her name
in protest.
She
hated the edit of the movie. 2 years after they shot the rest of the movie, they'd made this music video ending where all 3 of the band members are noticeably aged.
older.
Yeah.
And we said before we watched the movie that Laura Dern was 15 or 16, but
she was actually 13.
She's 13 years old in this movie. She does not look 13. She seems like 15 or so, but she's
her IMDb
13 years old.
Her IMDb says she was born in 1967.
Well, if the internet said it was true.
I mean, it's totally possible she's lying. Laura Dern could be a liar, but I think we're getting into libel laws.
We love you.
Or is that slander? Dern. Is slander spoken and libel's printed?
I don't know. I didn't say it. I think, the only thing that stands out to me, I mean, the direction is not great.
No.
this is the first time I've watched it and felt like there's really only like one impactful scene, and it's when they're watching. They've played a show or two, and they've kind of gotten some notoriety, and then they go and they're watching these TVs through this storefront window.
Like when they had TVs in storefronts.
Yeah, and they see one of the mothers of the characters, Laura Dern's character, and the mother's. It's like the only moment where the mother like admits like she's kind of raised them wrong and like is really proud of her daughter for like going out and standing up for whatever
they stand up for.
And
it changes day to day.
That's really the only cinematic moment in the whole movie. I feel like there's this 2.5 3 minute long monologue, and it's just like it's shot really well.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the movie just kind of plods along with no. People are saying things, but it goes off on tangents. You've got this reggae tangent from the bus driver.
Yeah.
The lawn boy is what they call him.
Reggae score behind the whole scene.
Totally
Drowning out
goes
his
off.
dialogue.
You can't understand what the hell he's saying because he's mostly Jamaican, so it's like he's got such a thick accent you can't tell. The English band, the punk band, has such a crazy accents you can't tell what they're saying either.
I bet this fucking DVD doesn't even have subtitles. Because it's punk, and you're not supposed to understand what they're saying.
No, not at all.
That would be too easy. That would be putting out.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. The last note I wrote down. The music video they added, it's like, I'm going back to, I'm not sure what the point of the movie is.
We haven't sold this movie. We both like the movie, first of all.
We both like it, but I just don't know what it's really about. Like, Diane Lane's character, the first thing we learned about her after that she was fired is that her mom is dead. Died of lung cancer. Now Diane Lane is smoking cigarettes because she's a rebel.
Yeah.
And she don't give no fucks.
And they didn't have vapes back then, so.
Yeah. I don't know how she grew as a person over the course of the month or whatever this movie takes place in. Mm-hmm. At the end of the movie, she finally is crying, but is she crying because her career is over? Or what?
Well, and Ray Winstone's character says to her at the end of the movie, like, hey, I want you to come along on tour with me. I'm sorry for screwing up your life. Spoiler alert, they get in an argument or whatever.
It's his sort of fault because he goes on stage and calls her a sellout. And
we're guessing if you haven't seen the movie at this point, you're never going to see it. So, because it's not exactly on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he says, hey, come along, and she's like, what? And so I can be your groupie, and
so she's still just as angst-ridden and everything as she was at the beginning. She's still just saying no to life.
Yeah.
She's saying no to experiences and people, and she could easily become a member of that fucking band if she goes along with him. I don't know how that would turn out.
Well, and that scene, it's still it's upholding her beliefs or everything she's fought for. Like, from a political standpoint, she's still fighting for women's empowerment.
Yeah, she looks around the city and she sees people are still dressed like her band, like her with the makeup and everything.
She's influenced all these young girls to stand up for themselves. And
even if she's a total failure now, because everything's gone.
But the movie still shows her as a total failure and a hack. And
yeah. It's like she's a success with this tacked-on music video ending that they shot 2 years after the rest of the movie. That's why the writer hated it. But that means the writer wanted her to...
That was the only reason they hated it?
Well, I'm sure there was more to it, but that was the big thing. That was the major change they made to the movie. And basically that means if the writer didn't like that, then she wanted her main character to fail. So what would be the point of her failing? She has to learn something from that, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck does she learn by failing? She's still being an asshole at the end of the movie. So I just don't get it. I don't understand what they were trying to say, but maybe fuck me because I don't get it.
Maybe you should...
Maybe it's not for me.
Maybe you should write the writers and be like, yo, what the fuck were you thinking when you made this movie?
Will that fit in 140
And they'd be
characters?
like, I don't remember that movie.
I was on so much fucking Adderall back then.
Anyway... I don't think we have anything else more to say.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's if you're interested, you should check it out. Find the DVD on Amazon.
Yeah, because we've sold it so well to you.
It's not my job to sell anything to anybody. I'm not a professional. Okay?
Actually, you know what I want to do?
What?
And I've actually thought about this. I would love to write a sequel to this movie.
Do it then.
And give it to Diane Lane and be like, here you can play. Kind of like the Bill and Ted coming back and how they're supposed to be like in their 40s and like have no jobs.
Let's brainstorm it on mic right now.
Oh shit.
Okay. Diane Lane. She made the music video. Her band was a minor success in the 80s. She went on to produce and manage other bands, but she's been out of the game. Now she's coming back with her own band. She's bringing the Stains back. Go.
Starts off with Laura Dern's suicide.
Fuck. Fucking hell.
Credits roll, came over, man.
That's pretty punk.
Yeah.
That's real.
So real.